Microphone.
So now we are talking about the argument of Korach against Moshe, that he wanted to depose Moshe and Aaron. And why? Because Moses said to the Jewish people when they didn't want to go into the land of Israel, he said to them, you're making a big mistake. The main thing is not sitting in the desert learning Torah like you want to. The main thing is doing the commandments. And Korach jumped on that. And he said, oh, Moses, if the main thing is doing the commandments, then everyone's equal. If the main thing is learning Torah, then you're greater than everyone else. But if the main thing is doing the commandments, then everyone is equal and you have no right to be the king. You can't tell us to do things we don't want to do. Because everyone is equal.
Isn't there a problem with, because one of the things that Korach came to Moshe was, with the complaints that we're all wearing, they all came with talits of chelet. And the argument was, do I have to have a thread of chelet, or is the whole talit, no, is the whole talit good because it's all chelet? And that was not kosher. It was not the commandment. The mitzvah is to have one thread.
So what's the point?
That where was Korach even coming forth saying that I know how to do the commandments? He didn't even know how to do the commandments.
No, what Korach wanted to say, he wanted to make fun of Moshe. He wanted to say, Moshe, you want to be like one string of techelet. And you want to say that everyone else is just like white strings. In other words, you're totally different from everybody else. Right? But now the fact is that everybody, all the Jewish people, we were all Mount Sinai, we're all unique. We all received the Torah. So you can't say that your one strand is going to exempt, right, a garment that has everything is made of techelet, that one strand is going to exempt it. The same thing he said, a house that's full of books of Torah, does it have to have a mezuzah on the door? So Moshe said, yeah. So that doesn't make any sense. Why should it have a mezuzah on the door? Why should the house is full of books? Shema Yisrael, the things that are written on the mezuzah, it's written 100 times in these different books. Right? Why do you have to have one book as special than the other? All of them are the same. He wanted to point out to Moshe that you are the same as everybody else. You're not any different than anyone else.
Well, Moshe said his argument is with Hashem, not with Moshe. It's Moshe. It's Hashem's commandments. It's Hashem's commandment to put a thread of chelet. His arguments are false. So where does he get off the right to call himself a big leader?
Listen, it could be that up to Moshe explaining the Torah to everybody, the question is a good question. I don't exactly know the answer. But it could be that Moshe, until he explained the Torah to everyone, so the Torah was up for interpretation. And they were saying, we have our interpretation, you have yours. The interpretation of the Torah goes according to the majority. Right? In the Torah it says that you'd have to put a strand of blue on your tzitzis. But it doesn't say that that means that it's only that you have to do it on a garment that's completely blue. In other words, you have to put a blue strand on. The blue strand, you have to put it on. But what if you do put it on? In fact, what if you have the whole entire garment is blue? You have to put one more strand of blue on, right? So that's how Moshe interpreted it. But in the Torah, it doesn't say that.
I think it does.
No, it doesn't. It says you have no. Yeah, it says right in the previous portion we had. You have to have patil techelet. In other words, there has to be at least one. And they said, what if you have all? What if all of them are techelet? You have to have one more? And Moshe said, yes, my interpretation of the Torah is you do have to. And they all laughed at him. When Moshe was interpreting the Torah, it doesn't say in the Torah that you have to have only one string. And it could mean you have to have at least one string, maybe more. The same thing, you have to have a mezuzah on your house. Right? Maybe it's talking about only a house that doesn't have books in it. We don't know. And now Korach gathered all of the wise men. It says Rashi says that Korach convinced all the Jewish people, all of them. He went around the whole night and called everybody against Moshe. So the law is that the law goes according to the majority. Korach said, I have the majority. Right? What do you think? A house that is filled with books, it has to have a mezuzah on the door or not? Right? So Moshe said, of course it does. They said, they laughed at him. Good, according to your interpretation, it does. But Moshe, you're totally wrong. Why is your interpretation like that? Because it's totally selfish. You want to be special from everybody else. Just like you want to say that a house that's filled with books, Torah books, has to have a mezuzah on it. It doesn't have to have a mezuzah on the door. Who says it has to have? What? Korach was saying a house has to have a mezuzah on the door only if it's not filled with books. But if it's filled with books, you don't have to have one. How do you know he's wrong? How do you know that he's wrong? But he has the majority of people on his side that all agree with him. Maybe he's right. They were disagreeing with Moshe's right to rule. If Moshe didn't have the right to rule, maybe he was wrong all over.
Moshe wasn't teaching from his own.
That's what Moshe said, but that's not what they said.
And who settled the argument?
The majority.
No, Hashem settles the argument.
Afterwards, Hashem did settle the argument, but until then, the question is, what is their point? That's your question. How could Korach say such a stupid thing when it was against the law? Well, the law was being decided now. Right? They were saying, Moshe, you do not have the right to lead the Jewish people. You don't have the right to determine the law also. You don't have the right.
Who are these 250 leaders?
It says Rosh Sanhedrin. It says they were the heads of the Sanhedrin.
Because a lot of the teachings that I've come across says that they were all firstborn. A lot of this has to do with the...
Look at Rashi. You have the Chumash over there. It says Rashi says Roshi Lakach Matayim Ve'esrim Roshi Sanhedrin. That's what Rashi says. Huh? Here it says. Okay, but let's go on. That's a side question already. What did he say, right? Huh? ויקום לפני משה 50 ו200 נשיאי עדה קריאי מועד אנשי שם. He says, where do you have Rashi over here? There it is. He says in the beginning, what did he do? He rose and assembled 250 men fit to be the heads of the Sanhedrin, most of them for the tribe of Reuven, who were his neighbors. So, the Sanhedrin did not have to come from... No, that was the Reuven. No, Reuven was the tribe. It was the tribe of Reuven.
Reuven was originally supposed to be the firstborn. They were supposed to be...
That's a side thing. That's a side thing. It has nothing to do with it. Okay. But no, he didn't take I understand. He didn't take the firstborn. No. He just took people who were geniuses. The Sanhedrin did not have to be composed of any one particular tribe. And there didn't have to be a representation from every tribe. The most fitting people, they were the Sanhedrin. But in any case, I think that's the answer to your question. He had the majority of the people with him. He had all the Jewish people with him. And they said, listen, Moshe, we're going to decide the law. And they asked Moshe a couple of questions, which he knew what the answers were. He knew what Moshe was going to say. That one string, you have a garment that's all chelet, you have a house that's filled with Torah. You have to put a tzitzis, you have to put a strand on it, and you have to put a mezuzah on the door. He knew that Moshe was going to say that. As soon as Moshe said it, everybody laughed at him. So it doesn't make any sense, Moshe, what you're saying. Right? Think about it for 1 second. They wanted to go more according to their intelligence. They didn't want Moshe to be a king. That's the point. Moshe cannot tell them what to do. That's the law. They didn't want that.
Well, certainly Korach.
They wanted to be more, what?
Korach didn't want to be the king.
Korach didn't want to be a king. He wanted to be a leader.
He was a really rich.
Rashi says he didn't want, the Rebbe says he doesn't want to be a king. He wants to be a leader. Right? Like in America. In America. No kings in America. No such thing. Right? It's a disgusting word. To have a king in America, what are you talking about? Right? In that aspect, that's why the French were very disappointed. They thought that the Americans would follow after them because they deposed the kings. But they deposed the kings for democracy. And America deposed the kings for they wanted a republic. Oh, it's not important. Let's go. Daled. Od hitkavnu b'tainatam. Also, they include, we're on page 32. Also, they intended with their claims Al Malchus Moshe Rabbeinu on the kingship of Moshe, Hakesher shebein Anshe Medina, Lebein Malchut, the connection, the relationship between the people of the country and the king, Eino Dome Lekesher Acher. It's not comparable to any other type of attachment. The dugma, for instance, Kesher shebein Talmid L'Rabbo, the attachment between our pupil and his teacher. Kesher zeu rak lagabi otam inyanim shel Torah, shehu zakuk lekabalat mirabo. A pupil and a teacher. A pupil is connected to his teacher only in matters of Torah. Aval kesher, but the attachment. Okay, with me, Felix. See, first one in line is mirabo. Mirabo, a little bit further down. There we go. Aval, a kesher, the connection between the people of a country and the king, who bekal metziuto, is in all of his being. The king rules over you totally, not just over your mind, not just over your actions. The king rules everyone totally, 100%. If the king comes up to a rich person and says, you are no longer rich, you are poor, that's it. He's poor. If he says, your name is no longer Gross, it's now Klein, that's it. The king. Not only are the people dependent on the king for things of kingship, political things, their whole entire being is connected to the king. And that's what you should think every time when you say that God is the king of the universe. Melech Olam means that God rules over every single aspect of my life. That's what it's supposed to be. A dugma, for instance, like it says in the Gemara, Al Echad, on a person, there's a Gemara in Chagiga. Al Echad, once there was a person, we're on the top of the next paragraph here. Al Echad, on a person, Shemachva b'machog, that made a gesture, Kami Malka, in front of the king. A person that he made a sign to one of his friends in front of the king. Machva b'machog. He made a sign, a gesture. He waved to one of his friends, standing in front of the king, and he waves to one of his friends and says hello. Ramaz al davar mesuyam. He threw a little bit of a hint. He made a gesture. Benochachut hamelech, in front of the king. V'danu oto lamita. And the king said, who are you making signs for? Take him out and kill him. Ki bekach gila et metziuto shalo b'sevivot hamelech. Because in this, this person was trying to show that he was a separate entity from the king. He had his own independence. Right? You're standing in front of a king, you're supposed to be totally negated in front of the king. Totally negated. You can't go like this, wave somebody. Who are you waving to? My mother. Can't come out and kill him. It's not proper. So in front of the king, you don't mess around. The king totally rules over everything you do. You want to do something outside of the king, that's called rebellion. It's called rebellion. Zui Marida B'Malchus. This is a rebelling against the king. Lemerot she'al yedei mechva b'machov hu gilui rak metziuto. In fact, close the door, please. We have to find some sort of a solution to this. We'll see what it is. What? It's not going to happen so fast.
Let's go to the water park.
Maybe we can get some of the picture.
Davar she'enu pogea, I'll ask him. Pogea be'inyani malchus. I'm sorry. What did this person do? The person didn't make a sign, like in the like this. He just made a little sign to somebody on the side. This has no connection to rebelling against the king. He had no intention to rebel against the king. He just showed that he was a separate thing. He saw his mother and he's made a Kamo Eitzel Talmud, like for instance a pupil. Sha'aselo lios more alacha livnei rabo. For instance, a pupil cannot decide laws in front of his rabbi. Ki adavar kashur im inyanim shuhu mekabel mirabo. Because with your rabbi, so you cannot show yourself to be a Torah entity. You're not separate from your rabbi as far as Torah goes. But as far as other things go, you can, right? Your mother comes in, you can make a signal. There's nothing wrong with that in front of your rabbi. Kamo, it's not. But if you say a law in front of your rabbi, this is like rebellion. Ki malucha tzaricha. Lechabek. This. Do you have a question mark here? That's wrong. It's a printing error. Ki malucha tzarich lechbok et kol metziuto, because kingship has to embrace the whole existence of every single person in the country, even in the most simple things. This is even moving your hand. This is already considered to be rebellion. So it was Eitzel Moshe Rabbeinu. Sha'al yedei hitnasuto kibu b'nei Yisrael et yado al yado lo rak hasagod nalot b'yit keduma. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu was. Moshe was not just a teacher. He was a teacher. But he wasn't there just to teach the Jewish people Torah. Elagam calling Yerim. But everything of the Jewish people depended on Moshe. This is a hard thing to accept. Hard thing to accept. Ad le'inyanim pshutim biyoter. Until the most simple things. Everything depended on the king. V'kein ugam b'hitpashtut the Moshe b'kol dor. And so it is in the representative of Moshe b'kol dor generation. All of the great rabbis, the tzaddikim, Rosh ben Israel, Shekol Anshe Bedoram, all of the people that are under a rabbi have to receive their life by means of this rabbi. That's what it says in the second chapter of Tanya. The rabbi is not just supposed to be, that's why it's so important that rabbis have to learn Kabbalah, at least a little bit. Because a rabbi is supposed to be a person that is not just teaching you your religion and you go home. The rabbi is the representative of your creator. That God is creating you every second. And the only representative that he has is the rabbi. So whichever rabbi that you have, that's supposed to be your connection to the creator of the universe. He's the example of a person that shows that everything he does, says, thinks, acts, every movement that he does is only according to what God wants. That's what a true tzaddik is. And because God in fact is creating everything all the time. So a person that is like that, he's like a king. And you, if you're connected to him, your whole existence depends on it. It says in the Tanya that the whole world receives its life by means of a tzaddik. If there wasn't a tzaddik, there wouldn't be any life in the whole world. And we're talking about now all the whole world. We're talking about all the idolaters and all the evil people and everything. They all receive their life from the tzaddik. Explains in the end of the second chapter how this can possibly be. What about evil people that rebel? Where do they receive their life? It says from the backside of God. But that's the importance of a tzaddik. The tzaddik is not just a great person, not just a president. He's not a tremendous leader and a very wise man that his advice is infallible. All those things are wonderful, that's true. But that's not what a king is. That's a leader, that's a teacher, that's a mentor. right? A genius, a prophet, right? But it's not a king. A king is a person that he is God's, how do you want to say it, God's representative in the world. He rules over every detail of your life. That's what it's supposed to be. Right? Hard to believe, but that's what it is. Zuayatan is Korach. And that's exactly what Korach said. No more kings. Something like Napoleon. You ever read the story about Napoleon? Napoleon's whole thing was knocking down the kings. No more kings. There's going to be equality, fraternity, and what is it? Equality for liberty. Liberty. Everyone is going to be free to do what they want. There's not going to be any more. He crowned himself as an emperor, but he was going to be the emperor of freedom. Right? You could do what you wanted to. Under me, it's going to be a totally different. I'm going to be friendly guy, nice person, open. Everyone's going to be equal. There won't be any more hatred and more wonderful, wonderful world. Communism. That's what Korach wanted. Madua benogea laotam inyanim behem kulam shavim. If so, that's what he said to Moshe. Moshe, in the matters that you are higher than everybody else, Torah, you're the greatest. But not in the things where everyone is equal. The commandments. Ha'inyanim ha'peshutim, simple things. Also those the Jewish people have to receive by means of Moshe. Too much. Moshe, you've overstepped your boundaries, said Korach, and everybody in the crowd said, wow, this is wonderful. We're free. We're free from this Moses. We needed him to get out of Egypt, and we didn't really want to leave Egypt. We're free to we didn't want to receive the Torah. When God gave the Torah, they didn't want it. The Jews said, you go, Moshe, we can't take it. And the Jews wanted to keep going back all the time. And at Yam Suf, when they were the Yam Suf, one wanted to jump in, one group wanted to jump in, one group wanted to go back, one wanted to pray. All of them were wrong. Yes, you can, go on. When they got to Yam Suf, you know the story? It's a Midrash. You leave the door open, please. Huh? The Midrash is the Jewish people, when they left Egypt, so they got up to Yam Suf, and immediately they're split into 4 different camps about what to do. Right? Right. One said, let's pray. One said, let's fight. One said, let's jump in the sea and commit suicide. We're not going back to Egypt. One said, let's go back to Egypt. Forget about it. We're lost. None of them agreed with Moshe. All of them had the wrong idea. They all were mistaken. Now, without Moshe, people are going to be free. They can do what they want. Who says we're wrong? Maybe if we would have fought, we would have won. Maybe if we would have prayed, we would have won. Who says that they're wrong? Right, where do you get the idea they're wrong? Moses said they're wrong. Who says Moses is right? Who said that was the right thing to do? Says now Korach is the only one with the courage to stand up in the face of Moshe and say, Moshe, we've had enough of you. We're not going to be serfs to your kingship anymore. We're going to be free. We're going to be who ourselves. We're going to follow our destiny. We're going to be, we'll do it our way, not your way.
All this happens about 2 years after,
right.
After leaving Israel. Doesn't sound like a people who's ready to go into the promised land.
They worshipped the golden calf. As soon as they got out, they wanted to go back.
Yeah, doesn't sound like they're ready.
If you look at them now, they're also not ready. When they went into the land of Israel, they also weren't ready. They're never ready. The Jews are never ready. They always have to be forced. That's why the Rambam writes, the Mashiach is going to come and force all the Jews to walk in the way of God. And the Rebbe explains, what does it mean he'll force them? He'll force them with love. Like all the Chabad houses and all this that's around the world. Forcing people. Because you go up to a Jew and say, hello, you're going to burn in hell if you don't do tefillin. So the person will say, you burn in hell. Who says I'm going to burn in hell? Right? There are people that like that. There are people that like it, that somebody stands up in front of the crowd and he's dressed really well and he speaks really well and he knows the Torah and he just starts telling everybody what the punishment is going to be. And he's right. Could be. Maybe. He's right. But maybe he's not right. Maybe he's not right. The Rebbe once said, that he heard one of these lecturers gave one of these fire and brimstone speeches in America. And he said that Jews that do all the Torah, they have a profile of 100. Those that do half of the Torah is a profile of 50. In the army, they profile people, to go in. So you have a profile. According to your profile, that's the level you can, serve in the army, or what they can expect from you. So the Rebbe said, who are you to give people grades? Who are you to estimate how much of a Jew is? So really the fact that the Rebbe said, the real fact is, there are some people that are so low that the only thing that will pull them out of their lowness is if they make people do tshuva. That's the only thing. If they have the merit of making people do tshuva, that will save their lives. That'll save them spiritually. So what does God do? He takes a bunch of people and he purposely keeps them from doing tshuva. God could make them do tshuva if he wanted to in a second, God. But he purposely keeps people from doing tshuva so that they'll sit in the crowd and they'll listen to this person's lecture and he will make them do tshuva. So it ends up that this person is much, much lower than they are. Right? The only thing that which can take this person out of his terribly low state is by raising these people up. So God purposely leaves these people so that they won't be raised up. He could have done it on his own. So that he'll have the merit. And now he stands in front of this crowd and says, I am 100 and you're 20, you're 30.